Hello friends, welcome to my channel Sushant Chess. Today we are at the next topic, that is the knight versus pawns. We are at the fifth position of our topic. Today we have got a case of rook pawn again, and we are trying to understand one rule through this position. The position looks little difficult at first. The point is the knight is trying to fight it out against the rook pawn, and we are trying to understand in which cases knight is able to hold against the rook pawn. So there are two ways for white to hold the advance of the rook pawn now. One is he can go with the move knight g3, which is very logical, but the rule says that whenever the knight is trying to fight out against the rook pawn, especially when his own king is away, the knight should try to cover the square in front of the rook's pawn and not the last square of the rook pawn. It is most difficult to hold the position when we are covering the pinning square. Other than that, if the knight is able to come in front of any other square in front of the rook pawn, drawing chances are huge. So with ng3, white loses the game. h2 first, forcing the knight to remain on g3. White goes kb7, ke1, kc6, kf2, knight h1, and now comes the simple kg2, and we see the knight would be trapped and the pawn will queen. After kd5, kh1, ke4, king just comes to g2 and the pawn queens. What should white do? Thus the rule becomes very handy now. White has the simple drawing method. He goes for the move knight e3 check. Knight uses the check to gain tempo. These techniques are very important for all knight endgames. Knight often tries to use a fork to win the pawn. Knight often tries a fork to give it up for the pawn, and knight often uses a check to control a specific square. So now after ke2, knight goes to g4, and as per the rule we are covering the square in front of the pawn, which is not the queening square, and thus white is able to hold the game. Let's see how. King attacks the knight. Knight goes to h2. After kg3, knight f1 check. Now if king f2, then king again goes to h2, and after kg2, knight gives check from e3. Instead of king g3, if kg2 is played, then the knight just moves to g4 again, and after the kg3 now, knight doesn't have the move on h2, so the knight goes to e3. This is the main drawing technique. The move h2 is indirectly stopped since knight f1 check, and the knight is able to sacrifice itself for the rook pawn, and the game is drawn. So this is the technique which I was discussing. The knight check and the knight was sacrificed for the pawn. Thus black plays kf3 again, to which white goes nf1, kf2, knight h2, and the position keeps on repeating. At this point, I would like to share another very interesting position which I want you to try at home. The same position with the black king on d3. This position we are going to cover in the next lesson. Try to figure out what will happen with white to play in this case. I hope you are finding these lessons useful. Do like, share and subscribe the channel. Thanks for your time.